All right, today we're going to start 7.2 sum and difference identities. There's an Edfinity homework up, and there will be a paper homework up for this too. There's a way to derive these formulas, and I'm going to not do that on this video because it takes a long time. But there happens to be a relationship. If you have a sum of two angles inside of the cosine, you can break it up into a formula using sine and cosine of the individual angles. And we'll see how this is useful later. I did want to derive the difference formulas from the sum formulas because they actually end up using the fact that sine is an odd function, so sine of negative x is equal to negative sine of x, and that cosine is an even function, so the cosine of negative x is just cosine of x. So let's apply that here. So alpha and beta are being added to make this angle, and then what happens if it's alpha minus beta? Well, the only thing that's going to change is all of our betas will be negative inside of our formula, and then we'll be able to use our even and odd function guys over here to simplify this a little. So we can pull, so what happens here? Well, we see over here that the cosine of a negative angle is just the cosine of the non-negative version of the angle, and so we can just drop it. And then in our second term, we can actually pull the negative out. And remember, this is multiplication, so maybe I'll put an extra step in here. This is really multiplied times sine of positive b, and so this is negative times a negative, so there's our positive. And so the formula for the difference is almost exactly the same as the sum, except for there's a plus in between them. All right, so those are the formulas we'll be using. And then, there's no difference, but there's a difference, but there's a similar formula for sine. Instead of going cosine, cosine, sine, sine, it goes sine, cosine, cosine, sine. And then we can derive the difference in a similar way. Just use the original sum formula and then make all the betas negative. And then apply these odd and even function rules. So this, for sine, it comes out to the front, the negative, and we're multiplying, so end up with something like this. And then so this is the final version we want to use. And so here is our four sum and difference formulas.